and welcome to this week's episode of The Wire Wrap. I'm Jahnavi Sen and we're here today to talk about the state of India's economy in the wake of GST Bachat Utsav, the upcoming assembly elections in Bihar, and the Election Commission's announcement of a nationwide special intensive revision of voter rolls. With me today to talk about this, I have Maneesh Chhibber and The Wire's founding editor, MK Venu. Thank you both so much for joining me. It's been about 10 days now since the new GST rates came into force to coincide with Diwali and the festive season, Navratri as a whole. The Prime Minister and Finance Minister have called this time GST Bachat Utsav and said that now Indians across classes will be able to save more and also spend more on the things that they want because of the revised rates. And we did see during this period that automobile sales have gone up, but some other sales like branded ready-made garments, which usually during festive season ethnic wear is sold a lot, those sales have dropped this year because the GST on these items is now 18% as opposed to the 12% we had earlier. Now, meanwhile, the issue of jobs, their creation, their quality continues to be an issue in the Indian economy. A recent Niti Aayog report has said that the services sector runs the risk of turning into a low-wage trap. These are their words. And this is concerning because it's the fastest growing segment of the Indian labour market. Meanwhile, small manufacturers are still facing the very crippling US export tariffs since trade talks with the US were not clear yet where they're going, and in the last 4 months we've seen a 40% drop in exports to the US. Now, Venu, at a time when the government is claiming that it's making moves to increase savings, increase demand in the economy, how is the economy looking from the perspective of the majority of India's people?
Well, that is the real question from the perspective of the majority of India's people. There is no evidence yet that overall consumption demand is breaking out of its long period of stagnation. So consumption demand has been a problem for India, has been a problem for the last many years, has been a problem more acute since COVID. And we all know that post-COVID, there is data to show that a large number of people went back from to villages from their urban employment, which labor economist Santosh Mehrotra, I think, has come up with a figure of 80 million. So 80 million is the single largest reverse migration that one has seen in any economy in the world in the course of its development trajectory. It's a real reversal that has happened. And rural demand had been very, very stagnant, as we all know, last 4-5 years. Now, this GST and urban demand had also been stagnant. We all know that the demand for small cars, motorcycles, the growth, the numbers were annual growth, annual sales of these in the last 2-3 years have been lower than what they were in 2017 or 2018, right? So that's all well established, well recorded. Now, the government's claim that GST reduction was a big kind of reform. It was hardly a reform because you put such high rates and you cripple consumption demand, and you put such high rates on poor people. And we all know GST is a regressive tax. Mukesh Ambani pays the same GST as a thela wala, 28% on cement, right? So they have reduced GST. There has been some pickup in consumption demand, but mind you, what I have seen is the increase in demand is only again among the high-end consumption items, durables, high-end cars, high-end televisions. Now, coming back to your question of the broader population, bottom 80% of the people, if you see their consumption patterns, I don't think there is a significant breakout. Upward trend is not there. We'll have to see for data now in the next 6 months, next quarter and later. And during this period, the Trump tariffs continue to create uncertainty in regard to both investments and consumption. So nobody will invest until there is clarity on. It's the longest negotiated trade deal. We don't know. India was the first. India celebrated in April saying that, we are the only ones with whom Trump is actually doing a trade deal. Other countries were not on the scene. All the other countries have done a deal India, for some reason, is still kind of hanging. India's trade deal is still hanging fire, and
we in fact might have more details of the deal with China now than
China is the one who's actually on level negotiating with Trump on a one-to-one level basis, and India is still grappling with the Russian oil problem. We kept silent. Mr. Modi didn't say a word. Nobody, Jaishankar didn't say a word on Russian oil last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now, Trump introduced sanctions against the two biggest Russian oil companies, Lukoil and the other one. And so as a result of which, Reliance has announced that it is going to cut down on oil imports. IOC has also announced. So we've been forced to cut down on Russian oil imports. What impact that might have on us is yet to be assessed, because we were still, the Russian oil was still giving us a arbitrage of about $5, you know. Of course, earlier the discount was much more. Last year and last year was about $11 per barrel. But still, we have to shift to some other oil, more expensive oil. I don't know how that will play out. I don't know how the trade deal will play out. What kind of investments we will have, because August has shown that the FDI, net FDI, has actually gone negative, 150% negative actually. And so let us see, the economy it presents a very uncertain picture. Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's right that, people are not very enthused with the so-called, cut in the GST. After all, what you have done is, which you should have done 5-6 years ago. You bring in a rule GST, which does not, which the country is ill-equipped to deal with. And then finally, somewhere some babu decides, that this is not common sense, and eventually common sense prevails, and you bring that in, and then you go around town saying, हमने तो बहुत बड़ा काम कर दिया है, everybody celebrate. But where are people going to celebrate? There is no money in their pockets. I have a friend who wants to buy a car. And because he's a friend, so he's been taking me around Noida, all the car dealerships. And because one wants to, you have to converse with these people. So I asked him, "Bhai sahab, is baar Diwali वगैरह तो आपका bumper गया होगा?" So all of them are saying, they are looking at each other, should we tell him the truth? या क्या बोले? So the problem is that, even if now the issue is not, just the GST or the so-called cuts. The issue is there is no money in your pocket to spend. Economy.
In fact, former Yashwant Sinha, former finance minister, told Wire. In fact, I interviewed him. So I asked him, what is the problem with the economy? So he said exactly what Maneesh said. He says, "Paisa khatam ho gaya." He had a one word, one sentence answer. पैसा दिखता नहीं है, लोगों के पास खरीदारी नहीं हो रही.
And if I can add, पैसा अगर है भी है, लोग डरे हुए, निकाल नहीं रहे हैं. The reason is there is uncertainty. आज आपका job है, कल नहीं है. You don't know.
Also, Jahnavi, when you put more money in the hands of the people, whether via GST cut or whatever, the first thing that the consumer does is the tendency is to pay back earlier loans. A large amount of loans consumers have taken for consumption. Loan against gold has gone up 3-4 times the last 6-7 years. Loan against gold is for consumption, basically they शादी करा दिया या किसी बच्चे की पढ़ाई के लिए. So as a result, the savings rate has also dropped by some 4 percentage points, as a ratio of GDP, 4-5 percentage points actually. Household financial savings rate. So they will try to top up that, They have to take care of many things, no?
I want to ask you both also about the employment question. How serious of a concern is it today, and also is it a concern that the government is addressing? We saw recently that the Union Labour Ministry released its draft policy on labour and employment, this national policy, and it's come under scrutiny because it very explicitly cites the Manusmriti as one of its inspirations. I mean, that's a document we know. Its employment structure is based on caste-based oppression, on really regressive ideas that one would not think the Indian government now wants to perpetuate in the labour market.
See, just let's talk about some empirical kind of basis, discuss this on an empirical basis. it's very well established that, as I said, as excited labor economist Santosh Mehrotra's work, where he says that 80 million people have gone back to villages in the last post-COVID, particularly last 5 years thereabouts. Yeah, and he says that because they've gone back to villages, and there is a different criterion for determining agriculture employment. When you go back to village, you sit in your field for about 2 hours, देख रेख के लिए बैठ गए आप, थोड़ा ये कर, you are added as agriculture worker, and it's very low productive, low income employment. So these people have added that to the employment formally. This is what they've done, which no economists anywhere in the world would accept, especially because in the final figure of employment that they give, they also say that about 58% of India employed are self-employed, and within this 58%, again this is Mehrotra's figure, about 33% are unpaid labor. Now, International Labour Organization does not recognize unpaid labor as employed. So these are all small, home enterprises, small shops where all family members sit and they are treated as employed, but actually they are not being paid. It's called family labor, right? So these are all problems with India's employment methodology, determining methodology, and to top it all, Prime Minister Modi finally admitted that the unemployed youth is actually unemployed because he's got what he said was real रोजगार. वो मोबाइल में अपना वो बनाता है, रील बना के वो पैसे कमा रहा है.
Because data इतना सस्ता है.
जो डेटा सस्ता है, चाय से भी सस्ता है. To which we've seen the response. Many young people have been interviewed in Bihar and they said no, data कोई सस्ता नहीं है और इस रील बनाने से हमें कुछ नहीं मिल रहा. So that's it. Mr. Modi, after saying that pakoda makers are as good as well employed, now he's saying that vast number of youth which is sitting on their mobiles are employed. Yeah, for me there can't be a bigger admission of failure.
For me, the bigger problem or the main problem is there are no jobs. Jobs happen when, existing companies, they expand or more companies come in from abroad, FDI flows in. All that, data, and this is the government's own data, and, for a change, we have to trust the government data on this. It's in the negative. So the problem is that nobody wants to. When was the last time, barring, Mr. Adani or Mr. Ambani or some other big corporate house buying an already existing company, when was the last time they decided, okay, we'll invest $20 billion in this sector?
What is called greenfield investments.
Yeah, greenfield. So they're not doing that. And I don't know, basically what happens is that everybody sees 10 people on Facebook or YouTube making money. So everybody tries to emulate that. That is not the true picture. Mr. Modi or some people he knows may be making money that way. But if that were the case, then all the TV channels would not be in the red.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. We've already brought up Bihar, so I think we can go on to talk about what's happening there. We're now just less than a week away from the first phase of polling and 2 weeks away from the declaration of results for the Bihar Assembly elections. The opposition has released their manifesto. It's focusing on jobs, on the youth, on empowerment of women and the extremely backward classes, and also announced their chief ministerial face, which is Tejasvi Yadav. The NDA alliance has said it's not going. Doesn't seem like it's going to announce the chief minister's face before polling, and they are supposed to release their manifesto. It hasn't happened just yet. Now, you both talked about what the Prime Minister said about reels, and that was in the context of Bihar, about the youth making money because they have so much time and the data is so cheap. This obviously did not go down well with the people who claimed to were making money from it. And we know that employment has been a long-standing issue in the state. It sees so much out-migration to the rest of the country looking for work. But are these the issues that are at the top of people's minds as they go out to vote? What do both of you think are the issues that might determine the way this election goes on?
If you look at the BJP, all that they want and which they have been wanting and successfully doing so, implementing, is that they want to hand a victim card to every Hindu. Forget you don't have a job, forget you don't have any aspirations, forget that all the big people, they are going abroad, settling abroad. They want that the moment you walk into a polling booth, you go in there as a Hindu कि बीजेपी ने हमारे लिए बहुत किया है and we will vote for BJP. People, I know people, people who work around us, lower middle class, if I can say so, their children are, they don't have jobs, but they are very happy. They are contented. They will ask you for loans, small loans. आज हमारे घर में ये परेशानी है, इसके लिए थोड़े पैसे दे दो. But if you tell them ना, काम तो किया है, क्या किया है, then they don't want to talk. So the problem is that I think the opposition has finally realized to a certain extent that the issue of jobs, the issue of lack of basic employment, that has to be the issue. Job security has to be the issue, not this caste divide or religious divide. They may get you votes for some time, but eventually in the long run they will hurt you. Why the BJP is happy is because so far in the last 11 years it's been working for them. But a day will come, 2024 elections, we saw that that issue had stopped
UP was, they lost UP, no?
It stopped working for them. So, the big issue I think in Bihar is, or the three big issues will be the caste. In Bihar, caste will always, trump every other issue. But at the same time, even those who vote according to their caste, they are looking for a leader, a change or a leader who can do something good for them. Ghuspetia, now suddenly, you hear a lot of that, but suddenly it's been muted. So because it's not worked for the BJP. So I think the big issue will be caste, employment. Because there's, for example, recently I was in Punjab, so I saw Ludhiana belt used to offer so much employment to the Biharis and people from UP, even as far as Odisha. So now suddenly Punjabis, the locals have realized हमारे लिए तो job है नहीं, हम इनको क्यों दें? So now there's this reverse, and people who, Canadian economy is also not that good. So people are coming back. So they want to work on their own, in their own fields. So suddenly these people are forced to go back because there are no longer jobs in rest of the country. And also, it's not just, A or B or C who is parochial or who wants to, the identity crisis. Every community has that. So I think number 2 is jobs and number 3 is development. Bihar, whatever politicians might tell you, it continues to be one of the, the so-called Bimaru states. Yeah. It is a shining example of that. It has land, it has everything, but everything that should have gone for
the Home Minister is to be believed, land is the problem.
As Prashant Kishore rightly said, it was the lowest per capita income state in 1990. It was the lowest in 2000. It's the lowest in 2020. It's the lowest in 2025.
Right.
That pecking order hasn't changed. Yeah, and that's a big issue. That Prashant Kishore is, although Prashant Kishore doesn't stand a chance to really tilt the scale as yet. But the issues that he has raised, it's finding some general traction. People are talking about it in Bihar. That this whole migration, why should Biharis work outside for pittance? Why can't they have employment within the state? That's a big issue. Quite apart from that, I find this very interesting. BJP is in a bit of a quandary. In 2020, Modi campaigned in Bihar, 2020 elections. In all the public meetings, he very clearly said that Nitish Kumar is the next CM. This time he's not saying it. He's not saying it. That is creating confusion among the Nitish Kumar specific voters.
Some JDU leaders are still trying to say it.
Because, so it's very interesting. I saw some TV kind of a TV news clip where BJP issued a poster saying 2025 से 30 नरेंद्र और नीतीश. After next day JDU put out a poster जो 2025 से 30 फिर से नीतीश. So there is internally there is some conflict which is happening there. And yesterday senior JDU leader very close to Nitish Kumar, KC Tyagi, I think in Indian Express given an interview saying that Nitish is perfectly all right. He's mentally all there. He's physically all there. So there is a feeling that BJP is now trying to turf Nitish out.
But after the elections.
And at the same time, basically transfer Nitish's goodwill onto the BJP.
Right.
Which many analysts are saying not happening. Biharis do not want a standalone BJP government. They don't want. Now, how this plays out will be interesting. I estimate that my intuition is that at some point in the campaign, BJP will be forced to say Nitish will be the CM.
There's not a lot of time left.
Yeah, I know there's not. But at what's I mean that's what I feel. Maybe they won't do it. But interestingly, the opposition, Tejasvi in every meeting is saying कि Nitish Babu को क्यों नहीं बोल रहे CM.
They have said that the BJP is using his face, but not
basically
willing
BJP.
to.
It is now clear that BJP is basically using Nitish. The electorate also knows that they are playing Nitish. Some people even say after elections, if NDA does well, JDU may even split. There's a lot of such talk also. Let's see what happens. There's a lot of confusion. Bihar is very interesting. And of course, in the middle of all this, there is the disruptor, Prashant Kishore. So yeah, even if some opinion polls say that he may get 13-14% vote. And Pawan Verma told me that 70% of these would come from the NDA. So this is their internal kind of,
how I see is from the eyes of a JDU leader who says, and a very senior one. I was talking to him the other day, and he says, हमारे को पक्का है कि नीतीश बाबू को खत्म करेंगे. He'll be finished. They may make him chief minister for some time, but eventually he'll have to make way for somebody else. BJP, if you talk to them, they feel that Nitish is, as of today, indispensable. He has to be the face, and whether they accept it or not publicly, but deep down they know unless the JDU voter comes and works with them, which is not happening incidentally so far. So the NDA story is not doing anything for them. As far as Prashant, so this is my gut feeling. I have not been to Bihar, let me admit that. But my gut feeling, he's going to eventually realize it's very easy being the man behind the throne, and it's very difficult being in front. But both BJP, JDU, as well as the Mahagathbandhan people, Congress, RJD, they tell you, ये वोट तो अच्छे लेगा. अब वो किसके लेगा, that is a big issue. If you talk to BJP, they say हमारा तो पक्का है, हमारे तो नहीं जाएंगे. But if you talk to Shant's people, they say upper caste, because most of the people he's feeling are upper caste. So upper caste to upper caste के लिए पहले vote करेगा. So I think it's going to be very interesting. And he says, Prashant has gone on record to say okay, JDU is not getting even 25 seats. He says, my politics.
Yeah, he's saying they leave politics. Right? Yeah. See, Prashant also, please note that his attack is concentrated on NDA. He's saying that this is the most corrupt government ever. By saying that, he's also minimizing Lalu's past corruption. He's saying that Lalu is small change compared to the kind of money that these guys have made. So it's a concentrated attack on the present government. I think Prashant is hoping that he gets a lot of the JDU votes, and he's also hoping that this confusion continues. That BJP is trying to gobble up. That BJP will try to have their own chief minister and dump Nitish. That suits Prashant, because the more this confusion remains, the more he gets. He can attempt to get the Nitish votes. So let's see what happens. Some people even argue that if by some miracle, if if he gets say 20% vote share or thereabouts, Prashant, which is not likely, but if it happens, then it's possible that BJP may want to support somebody like him, because the Sangh Parivar always wanted to break the Mandal project in Bihar. So they would love to have a Brahmin chief minister in Bihar. I'm saying I'm a kind of I'm just theorizing an outside kind of possibility.
I mean, not long now until we know how this is going to, just 2 weeks, until we know how this plays out. But before the active campaign period started in Bihar, the big electoral issue was the special intensive revision of voter rolls and the concerns and even chaos that was created around it at the speed at which the Election Commission decided that it was basically going to remake the entire voter rolls in the state. Now, earlier this week, the Election Commission has announced the beginning of a nationwide special intensive revision, starting with 12 states and union territories. Some of these are states that are going to elections pretty soon, like West Bengal, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. And it does seem like this process is going to be a bit different from what we saw in Bihar. They've said that in the process of filling forms, one does not need to provide supporting documents immediately. They have added Aadhaar to the list of documentary proof that you can provide, which the Supreme Court had forced it to do, but much later in the process during the Bihar SIR. Now, Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar has said that this nationwide exercise is necessitated by the fact that there's a lot of migration, and also that somehow foreigners have found their way into voter rolls. This is something the EC has said again and again, but after Bihar, they have not been able to provide any actual evidence of the foreigners they found.
Yeah, there's a bogus. As per Yogendra Yadav's that data that he put out, which others are also using software, the foreigners in a voters list of 4 or 7.4 crores, 7.5 crores, the number of foreigners is suspected foreigners is some 300 and something. It is 0.001%, which statistically is negligible. It's nearly zero, right? And Mr. Gyanesh Kumar, when he was asked in this press conference, he was so embarrassed that he didn't mention that number. But yesterday, Amit Shah is again persisting with Ghuspetia.
Yeah. And the nationwide announcement said this.
Yeah, Ghuspetia. So that means they want the Ghuspetia narrative to persist. And as Maneesh just said, Ghuspetia, since Bihar में तो कुछ हुआ नहीं Ghuspetia, तो बिहार में तो अब कहना बड़ा मुश्किल हो गया. Election Commission ने भी का data भी is not supporting the Ghuspetia story, but then they are prone to keeping a narrative going, even if it's devoid of facts. I mean, that's the BJP's Sangh Parivar style. So let's see how this plays out. I think the Supreme Court, I don't know, somehow I feel that the Supreme Court is not fully alive to the kind of evidence that is coming up again and again, whether Rahul Gandhi's, that Karnataka, Madhavepura or Alang, the CID of Karnataka finding that 80 rupees per deletions were being paid. In his press conference, the Chief Election Commissioner 2 days ago, he seemed to very innocently suggest that no duplicate votes, which is huge number. No, even in this Bihar list, it's about 14 lakh duplicate votes. It's not. It's not such an issue. Ordinary citizens will not file for a duplicate vote because they will be wary of, it's a criminal charge, so they won't commit. When he knows that such criminality is being committed on an industrial scale by various forces, for him to comment that no, this is not a serious issue, to me it's shocking, and I hope the Supreme Court looks at this.
My issue with the Supreme Court in all this is that the Supreme Court, for some reason, it's been very, very naive. You cannot, Supreme Court has to be like the media. Unfortunately, the less said, the better it is for the current state of Indian media. But Supreme Court has to, look at the everything from the point of view of the citizen, not the government. But that is not exactly what is happening right now. Supreme Court is putting more faith in the Election Commission, which for the simple question should that the courts, if I were in the judge's chair, I would have asked is, isse pehle, how many times have you carried out this exercise? From 51 till 2004, 8 times. Most I have been covering the election commission for now more than 20 years. मेरे को नहीं पता था SIR कोई होता है. Frankly, I have to admit that because it used to be such a low-key affair. हो रहा है, BLO is doing it, and end of road for you, end of the day for you, story for you. Abhi, there is so much controversy, there is so much mismanagement, and there is so much, if I can use this word, such a fraud on an industrial scale that, not just the entire process. You have given bad name to the institution of the election commission. Never, I have covered elections in 2012. S.Y. Qureshi, a UP appointed chief election commissioner, Salman Khurshid, who was the law minister, and Qureshi issued notices to him, and Salman picked up the phone and said, I am the minister, I want you to hold a meeting with you, you come to my office. He refused. Sometimes you have to send those signals to ensure or showcase that you are independent. Even though law ministry, for all intent and purpose, is the administrative ministry of election commission. The money comes from via the law ministry. But he did not go for that meeting, and kudos to him. But now I would not be sure if somebody in the government picks up the phone and forget it, the law minister. Even a small time joint secretary can pick up the phone and tell the election commissioner, and Mr. Ganesh, I am sure, will oblige. People should not have lost faith, if I can say that, in the process. However, in this case, because of all the wrong reasons, the process has been vitiated, and unfortunately the Supreme Court has not, I come across people who say, including those, senior advocates, that the court ne bada acha kiya, at least Aadhaar ko allow kar diya. Has the court done me a favor? No. How many people do you know, if tomorrow for some reason election commission or my local BLO decides I am not eligible to carry a voter ID card, do you think I'm going to spend my time and energy going around, मेरा जी आप election card दोबारा बना दो, मेरा आधार कार्ड से link करो, ऐसे करो वो. And Supreme Court has also bought into all the 5-6 explanations of the election commission as to why Aadhaar is a document which is not even worth the paper it is printed on.
Yeah.
While in other cases, the Supreme Court says Aadhaar is very good.
Also, in regard to Aadhaar, but Maneesh, it's this government which wanted to have Aadhaar being used in everything, to benefit the citizens. But in one of the most critical things, which is voting, the very basis of democratic, choice, the government and the EC was resisting use of Aadhaar. Now, Supreme Court has brought in Aadhaar as an important, element. Now, here I want to tell you, I spoke to a TDP member of parliament, and TDP is a supporting party which wrote to the Chief Election Commissioner saying that this exercise should be completely dealing from citizenship. Yeah. There should be a pure, voting, voters list cleanup exercise. Now they have written another letter to the Chief Election Commissioner. This MP told me, because he is the one who wrote the earlier letter also on behalf of Naidu, that please allow in every booth, please keep a small machine. The overall cost for the entire country will be not more than 7,500 crore rupees. Small sum to safeguard our democracy. And this machine should be just used to just check the authenticity of the Aadhaar. Person carrying voter's card, Aadhaar card also, and his eye scan and this thing, whether he's genuine or not. I think this is a very, very good idea, because this will also catch fake votes, duplicate votes, etc. And this is something. I spoke to a Congress leader. He also said that in March, the same Chief Election Commissioner had written to opposition parties saying that what is your view on whether Aadhaar should be used to check the authenticity at the booth. They all said yes, but after that, the Congress leader told me that the EC Election Commission forgot about that idea, which everybody supported, opposition supported, even TDP is now supporting, and they started the SIR exercise. So there is, if you see the sequence of events, there's some malafide.
And it's odd to see a government body so actively trying to convince everyone that Aadhaar is not good enough. Since it is a government provided.
Let me correct you.
Yeah.
The problem is not that. The problem is Election Commission is not supposed to be a government body.
Right.
But
An institutional
unfortunately,
authority. Yeah.
due to its
Constitutional
actions,
authority.
it has become a government body.
It is now an extension of the government.
It is acting like, when you hear the Chief Election Commissioner on television or you go to his press conferences, he is acting like an interested party, which he should not be.
And Jahnavi, here, when their own exercise shows that there is the Ghuspetia or suspected foreigner is 0.0001%. After that, Amit Shah talks about Ghuspetia. Shouldn't the election commission send him a notice saying that you're misleading the voters, you're misleading the public, and it's malafide. But they won't do it because they are merrily continuing their Ghuspetia campaign. I mean, it's really sort of, one doesn't know where to, who to turn to, the kind of situation that we have. And when you turn to the Supreme Court, public interest litigation goes to Supreme Court merely says, okay, Election Commission is within its rights to, it's a constitutional body and they will address this. Now, we are going to the Supreme Court because Election Commission is not addressing it, right? So,
and it's, so one of the things that's said in the nationwide thing is that Assam is going to be excluded for now because
very odd, yeah.
Yeah, which they did not explain the reason until someone asked in the press conference, and then Mr. Kumar said that this is because the citizenship determining exercise is still going on in Assam. So I wanted to get both your thoughts on that exclusion.
It's a fallacious argument. If they wanted to do it, they could have done it. And tomorrow, if it is found that the number of foreigners, Ghuspetias, are too large, so they could have done something to deal with that issue. Just because basically it seems like that they had run out of excuses. So okay, chalo ye de dete. But that is not how it is done. Look at what they are doing in Goa. The opposition has said and written to the Election Commission that why is there sudden large-scale transfer of BLOs and officers? And Election Commission, they have said they have promised action, but one would like to see what action that they take. And I don't understand why every state has an independent Chief Election Commissioner, the CO. Okay, so who's a IAS officer of the state cadre?
Chief Election Officer.
Chief Election Officer. So, and you have a team of BLOs. Every block has a BLO. Some blocks have more than one BLOs. So you do a countrywide SIR. Why are you doing it in a systematic manner? Because people will ask questions, and these are questions to which you don't have answers to. So that is the entire process, as I said, has been vitiated by them, not by the opposition, not by anybody else. And for democracy to survive and grow, these things, it is all about transparency. So where is the transparency here?
Also, I'll tell you why, Jahnavi, my take on why they are leaving Assam out of this. They've already burned their hands once in Assam, right? They did that national NR exercise, Register of Citizens, in which about 19 lakh suspected foreigners list was prepared. Of that, 12 lakhs were Hindus. Now, the moment they discovered so many Hindus, at that time, Bhagwat, RSS chief, one farman came from RSS saying, no, they should be, don't do it
discarded.
now.
Yeah.
Discarded. So that is their problem. If they do it now, they will have to deal with the suspected, the Hindus on the list, right? 60. So recently I asked one Sangh Parivar, an RSS man, one of their very prominent ideologues, who also on behalf of the RSS and on behalf of BJP has been working in Northeast. I don't want to name him because he told me in confidence. He writes a column in the Indian Express also regularly. That's enough hint. I asked him very point blank. I said, when you found 18.5 lakh people on the list, why didn't you have the courage to process that? Because there were 12 lakh Hindus. So he said, no, the numbers were too big. It would have been very complicated. This is the answer. So when it suits them, they change course. Where it suits them, where there is no need for such a thing, they'll introduce all kinds of Guspetiya narrative,
Okay, that brings us to the end of our show for today. Thank you both so much for joining me, and thank you all for watching.